everyone. So in today's class, we will discuss about the history, and we are beginning now history chapter now. And in this history chapter, very first chapter is the First War of Independence, 1857. See, if you look at the history of India, so India has been had a major part of its history through the British rule and all. So the modern Indian history is majorly dominated by the British rule. How the Britishers entered India, I know this and all. No, I need to give a brief introduction, like how with the East India Company they have entered India, and now they started ruling this country. So initially, who came for trade, how they become rulers, and was there any, you know, like did people how people accepted them, or did anything happen against the British or the East India Company's rule? So all such interesting facts, so we are going to learn in this chapter now, and see why it is called the First War of Independence. See, you all know that we all got independence in 1947. After a period of a long struggle, we got Indian independence in 1947. But the very first struggle, the very first attempt to wipe out Britishers from India has occurred way back in 1857. So in the year 1857 itself, there was an attempt from Indian side to wipe away the forces of East India Company, which is a trading company of British. And see, we will see whether it is really fight for independence, or whether it is something internally other kind of war that happened. That we will see when we go in depth of the chapter. But the First War of Independence has been regarded as historians as the first attempt of Indians against Britishers, to drive them away from the country. So let us see, I know things in depth. So let us proceed to the chapter. So, so understanding the chapter, see the process of British conquest of India and consolidation of British rule was accompanied by resentment among the Indians. So here, the process of British conquest of India, even though they came as traders, they had in their minds to occupy this area, and later they want to consolidate the British rule. So what do you mean by here consolidating? So they wanted to they wanted to consolidate their rule here, the British rule here. So what do you mean by consolidation of British rule here? See, what they did was to make their position strong in India. They have made certain, like policies. They have adapted certain measures and programs so that this rule of British would become consolidated. That means very strong. But it was accompanied by resentment among the Indians. So somewhere they have seen a setback or a resistance from Indians after their attempts to strengthen the rule in India. So hardly a year passed till 1857 when some part of the country or the other did not rise in revolt against the British domination of India. So here, so till 1857, okay. So what happened? Some part of the nation had resentment. What do you mean by resentment here? They were about to resist the, what do you call the, rule of East India Company who came as rulers. See here, I'm not going very in depth because that becomes out of your topic. Already your syllabus have been reduced, so I'm just sticking on to the topic. Already Indians are resenting, we said, because the British were trying to strengthen the rule and Indians were trying to resent back. So in this process of resentment, some part of the country was, they were trying to resist the ruling of British, and the other did not rise in revolt. Only few parts of the nation were involved in this resentment against the British domination of India. Why do you think British started dominating Indians? Because the East India Company, they wanted to strengthen their, you know, business affairs in India by occupying this area. So in the process, they tried to dominate Indian kings and everyone, and in that process, some people, some Indians resented back, whereas some parts of India were calm and quiet. They were not involved in this 1857 revolt. However, these rebellions were local, scattered, and isolated. So if you look at the map of 1857 here, so only few places, we have this kind of revolts or, or resistance, isn't it? And historians say that these were not, like a combined effort of all these places. Together, all the people of all the areas in India, they were not having an idea to fight back against Britishers, but they were local rebellions. There were some problems. Suppose, for example, there were some problems with Britishers in Kanpur. So the local people, they revolted against Britishers. There was some problem in Nagpur. The locals, they tried to resist the ruling or the domination of British. So it was a localized rebellion, not a, like effort from all people on the grounds of driving British. So historians say that they were local and scattered. No, one place here, another place somewhere. No, not all the times here. So one place, no, they had different reasons why the revolts have occurred, and isolated. All these places, they never joined hands with each other and made this revolt a very strong one. They were individually developing and progressing at their own places due to the circumstances present there. They did not pose a serious challenge to British. So these rebellions, which started slowly against British, they were not so serious against the Britishers. Of course, they were revolting, but not very serious. Nonetheless, these revolts established a local tradition of struggle against a foreign rule. So even though it looks that they were not leading to a big independence fight and all, but they gave a, like a tradition of struggle. Okay, they have laid the foundations. The local rebellions which began at different places for different reasons, they laid a local tradition to fight against foreigners or foreign rule. And the culmination of such opposition to British rule came with the First War of Independence in 1857. So, so I said that there were some local rebellions rising in every part of India, right? From different sections for different set of reasons. And they were localized, they were not connected with each other. There is no connection between Jhansi and Nagpur rebellions. There is no connection between Kanpur and Awadh rebellions. They were individual and they belong to their own set of places. And the culmination of such opposition to British rule came with the First War of Independence. That means once these all rebellions, they reached to a climax stage with independence, I mean the First War of Independence in 1857. All such small rebellions, they have emerged in a big way for the 1857 revolt. So culmination here means the climax, the highest point of opposition. So climax to such all local rebellions, they became at the end in 1857, they reached a big revolt called First War of Independence or 1857 revolt, where peasants, which are nothing but farmers, artisans who are nothing but the skilled artists who make objects with hands, and soldiers, they all got included and they shook the British government to its very foundation. So the people like the East India Company was shook to its roots by one such great rebellion that happened in 1857. So just now we have said that there were some rebellions happening, and these all small rebellions, they have slowly reached a climax and they have resulted in a great revolt called 1857 revolt. And for such a revolt, what is the cause? What are the causes of that revolt of 1857? So, see, you cannot say that these revolts have just occurred in one particular day. There are long-term reasons, understood? There are long-term reasons as well as there is an immediate reason or short-term reason. So here, long-term reasons, they started building slowly in all the sections of society. So what started in all sections of the society in India? Anger on British, anger on the East India Company's rule. So this anger was slowly building up in all the sections of Indian society for many years. And there was a immediate and short-term reason for the rise of revolt in 1857. In these two categories of reasons, we will see the long-term reasons first and later we'll go for the immediate or short-term reason. So here, the first 100 years of British rule in India from 1757 to 1857 were marked by British conquest and rapid expansion of their dominion in India, right from their entry as okay, right from their entry as traders to Kerala coast in 1600 and slowly getting into India and spreading their influence and trade. They were started their rule from 1757 and till 1857. Okay, they have expanded in India like anything. They have made some conquests in India. That means they occupied certain places. With their conquest, they expanded rapidly their influence in India. And the combined effect of British expansionist policies, economic exploitation, and administrative changes affected all the segments of Indian society. We are discussing about the long-term reasons that were responsible for the cause of revolt. So this is an overview where, see, they adopted expansionist policies. That means they wanted to expand to many parts of India and they took some policies, they took some measures how to occupy, how to increase their span of influence. So through such measures, they expanded their span of influence. Economic exploitation. That means as traders, they started looting all the resources of this country and they started making profits out of that. So they exploited our resources more than what they require. They exploited our resources and they economically became strong. And administrative changes. That means as they became the rulers slowly, they tried to bring certain administrative changes so that in the governance and all, so that they can make this country more and more profitable. The ruling class. So because of all such expansionist economic exploitation and administrative policies the company adopted or the British adopted, all sections of Indians got affected. Like you take farmers, peasantry or farmers, artisans, and even many people like the ruling class. Even the rulers who were local rulers of India, they were also affected by the policies of Britishers. Their expansion policies, economic policies, administrative policies. All these policies affected farmers, artisans, and rulers. How farmers were affected? Their land. In terms of their land, they exploited the farmers. How artisans were affected? The British bought all the finished goods from England, and the local goods made by artisans lost their value slowly. They were replaced by finished goods from the Britain or the British Empire. And then comes the middle and upper class as well as the ruling class. See how they got affected. The ruling class got affected because they were stepped down from their ruling position. The Britishers, they made them to step down and brought some administrative changes. They brought some they created new kind of posts, and they made, the rulers who are local rulers to lose their importance slowly. Hence, even the ruling class suffered a lot under the British policies. And so particularly, there were this kind of things were seen in North India in the beginning days. So in the northern part of India, these policies were very aggressive, aggressively implemented by British. And so this was the overview of the causes of the First War of Independence. So not only, people like what do you call the rulers, the artisans, the farmers, even people who followed cultural or religious activities. So those who are related to culture, religious things like priests. Okay, even these people got affected. Even scholars got affected. See why they got affected? Because those days the kings and the prince, whoever are there, the princes and all, what they used to do, they used to have a court, and in this court they encourage all these kind of scholars and everyone. Now, due to the policies of British, the princes or the kings or the rulers, they themselves lost their positions. When they lost the positions, the people who are dependent on them, like the priests, the scholars, and everyone, they also got affected. No way they were able to, serve the princes and kings or the rulers. So they became jobless now. Also, the zamindars who had themselves lost their authority. So, under the kings and rulers, since the time of Mughals, there were zamindars. So, who are the owners of land, and they used to collect taxes and all things, and they paid to the rulers. Now, the Britishers came and they introduced many new changes in administration, and they removed all such practices that were followed in administration like zamindari system and all. And apart from their position, they lost their importance as well. So the priests who are related to culture and other things, they also lost their importance because their rulers were no longer having authorities. Even the company's Indian soldiers. So there were some soldiers of India who were working for the East India Company. Even they were unhappy, discontented, they were unhappy because they were paid less salaries, more work and hard life, and they were treated very badly. So they were looked very inferior when compared with the British soldiers. Hence, by 1857, all sections of society, like farmers, okay, so just now we have seen, right? So like farmers, and then you take artisans, then you take, the middle class, then you take the ruling class, you take the priests, you take the scholars, you take zamindars, take at last the soldiers who are working for British, every section. Everybody got affected by the policies of the Britishers. Hence, these all things ripened up. That means they got to their climax or peak, and the accumulated grievances all the years, people were bearing the British policies. They got accumulated, the limit of their patience got more and more, and finally it got burst in the form of First War of Independence. So if you look at the picture here, it shows how the Britishers entered and what they did, what kind of wars they made and all, how this led to a big revolt in 1858. So, so just now we have finished the very overview of the reasons, how the reasons got ripened, and how the revolt has triggered. So let us discuss now the reasons, the long-term reasons in detail, one by one. So among the reasons, let us start with political reasons. See, these people are traders. Slowly they have, evolved themselves into political power. So how they evolved politically? What were the political reasons that responsible for the revolt, and what reasons, politically made even Indians to be unhappy? All such things we'll see. See, the policy of expansion. So under political reasons, their expansion policy is one such, important thing. How the Britishers tried to expand their territories. So the British policy of control and gradual extinction of native Indian states was one of the major grievances of Indian rulers. See, by that time India was divided into number of small kingdoms, and each kingdom was headed by a ruler or a king. Now, the Britishers, who were like traders, they had some interactions. They just entered into their territories in the name of trade, and after entering in the name of trade, they tried to take control of the ruling. So how they have observed certain differences between the local native Indian rulers, and they took it as an advantage. And from that situation, they have emerged as rulers in later times. Slowly, the local rulers lost their grip on their, you know, territories, and they were slowly slipping into the hands of Britishers or the East India Company. So on one side, the local rulers lost the importance, and the territories were going into the hands of British. So when does this kind of situation start? It started with Battle of Plassey. So a very important battle in Indian history, modern Indian history, which occurred in June 1757. Hence we studied that 1757 to you know 1857 is a very important, this 100 years of time is very important in Indian modern history. So 1757 Battle of Plassey has occurred. So between the Nawab of Bengal. So between whom this Battle of Plassey occurred? Between the Nawab of Bengal, Siraj-ud-Dawla, and the East India Company. So, so between Siraj-ud-Dawla, the Nawab of Bengal, and East India Company. So by this time, East India Company was encouraging the enemies of the Nawab of Bengal, and promising the enemies that they will make him like the rulers of Bengal. So the differences between the local rulers or the local people, I mean, between the king of a particular territory and his rival, they used the rivals against their own people and promised certain ruling positions and all, and thus it led to Battle of Plassey. So Bengal, in Bengal, thus Bengal went into the hands of British in a major battle called Battle of Plassey. So here, the East India Company's territorial power increased rapidly after this Battle of Plassey. So in which it, the British kept a puppet who can listen to their words in the place of Siraj-ud-Dawla, and they started controlling Bengal, because by this time Bengal was the richest province, richest territory even throughout the world. It was referred by historians that it was one of the very richest provinces or one of the richest territories, among the in the world itself. So the British eyed on Bengal. They made certain policies. They encouraged the rivals of Nawab of Bengal. They kept their puppets who will listen to their words in the throne of Bengal, and they started controlling the Bengal. And in the expansion policies, one is wars they did. Other means of expansion policy was subsidiary alliance, adopting doctrine of lapse, and pretext of allied misrule. So many, people from British, many rulers from, the British Empire, they came, they introduced a new policy called subsidiary alliance, doctrine of lapse, allied misrule. Allied misrule means in the name of misruling, they try to capture the territory. So doctrine of lapse, subsidiary alliance, this all I'll discuss, in the later slides, one by one in depth. So the policy of expansion started with Battle of Plassey, and here with Battle of Plassey in 1757, the first territory that went into the hands of Britishers was Bengal. So the policy of expansion of territories was very important for Britishers for their business or for the trade. They want the territories to be under their control. Hence, they started policy of expansion. So in that, the first way of expanding was through wars. They did many wars to expand the territories. We said that in the very beginning time itself, they did Battle of Plassey. So Battle of Plassey was the first war that helped them to expand, and the first place to come under their control was Bengal. After Battle of Plassey, to safeguard their economic and political interests, they waged many wars. So the British or the East India Company, they wanted to become economically more strong. To become economically strong, they wanted to have the political control over the territories. So to have political control, what they did? They did wars. So after Battle of Plassey, Battle of Buxar was very another important one. So I said that in Battle of Plassey, they kept a puppet who listens to them. But even then, that puppet also revolted against the British, and he came along with the two other people, and in a tripartite struggle in Battle of Buxar, you know, so even then the Battle of Buxar was favorable to British, and the Indian rulers lost the war. And by this, Bengal came into complete control of Britishers. So the Battle of Plassey, started the British conquest, and Battle of Buxar completed the Bengal's conquest completely. Also, those days Bengal province was having even Bihar and Odisha. So even that places also came under the control of the Britishers. As a result of their success in Anglo-Mysore wars, since after 1757, then 1764 Battle of Buxar, then 1767 to 1799 Anglo-Mysore wars. Okay, Mysore was a very rich province, so they had their eyes on Mysore. So what they did Anglo-Mysore wars, and the East India Company, obviously with their mighty, weapons and other strength, they could annex most of the territory of Mysore state. So in three in Anglo-Mysore wars, they could completely take up the Mysore state under their control. And then comes in 1817 to 1818. After 1799, with the finishing of Mysore state, then they came to Maratha state. So the Marathas, who were mighty and who fought with Mughals like anything, even they have to become submissive to the British mighty policies or expansion policies. The Maratha state, Mysore state, they were all under the the control of Britishers. And Punjab was also annexed in 1849, and after the Sikhs were defeated in Second Anglo-Sikh Wars. So, Battle of Plassey, Battle of Buxar, okay, Anglo-Mysore Wars, Anglo-Maratha Wars, Anglo-Sikh Wars. All these wars, direct wars, okay. The Britishers have directly done wars with these states. They were the very big states and they were very rich states also. Because of these wars, from starting with 1757 to 1850, you know, even 1856, there was a huge territory under the control of Britishers now. So their empire started extended from Sindh and to the territories of Assam, Arakan, and Pegu in Myanmar, so from west to east, and the central North India was completely. So Mysore, it was part of southern part of India. So all these areas were under the control of British. Through wars, they could get all these territories. So this is just a slide to explain, the Anglo-Mysore Wars when they occurred. Who were the people who between whom it was fought, what was the result. So there were almost four Anglo-Mysore Wars. Finally, the Tipu Sultan, the last ruler, was defeated, and with this, the Mysore state was uh, taken control, and it was given to the Wadayars, who were the native rulers. In fact, Tipu Sultan he took away that from the local rulers called Wadayars, and later the East India Company, it it always tried to say to the British Parliament that, see, they were not like people to rule. They were just traders. What they used to do is they used to go and say to the British Parliament that, see, there are Wadayars who are ruling Mysore state, and these Muslim rulers called Tipu Sultan and all, they have conquered them, and we are helping the local Wadayar rulers to regain their state back. In the name of this, they used to bluff the British Parliament, and they used to do wars and take control of the territories here in the India. So they used to hide certain things, and these Anglo-Maratha wars are similar. They fought three Anglo-Maratha wars. Finally, the Peshwa, who was the last Peshwa, he was also ran away, and later he took shelter there. Even then they were defeated, and they were taken completely. All the Maratha state, which was like very vast and big after the Mughal Empire, was even taken by Britishers.